One issue of translation that can be a little more controversial is the issue of inclusive language. Some translations have chosen to use inclusive language in their translation. And what that means is when the literal expression of the original word is masculine. So if in the original text you read a word brother, but the sense of that word is clearly collective. In other words, someone used the word brother, but to mean everybody in the church, and that church likely had women. Then the translators want to convey that in translation. They want to find a way to convey that holistic idea. In the same way, if they use man instead of humankind, or a man when we actually mean everyone. A classic example of this, Philippians 3:1, where Paul says, "Finally, my brothers, rejoice in the Lord." And the inclusive language translations say, "Further, my brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord." Even though sisters is not in the original text, they felt that sisters is implied within brothers, and they don't want there to be misunderstanding with the translation. And this gets a little tricky in English. We don't have a singular pronoun that can be either male or female. A lot of these verses will make them plural because we do have they, which can be anyone. But that's one way to fix it. Some of the arguments, of course, this, as I say, is controversial. Some of the arguments against inclusive languages, they feel it does, well, first of all, it doesn't render the words of the original language. There are specific philosophies of inspiration that feel like those words were there and chosen specifically, and not conveying those words is going to be is going to lead to a mistranslation of the text. They also very often, those against inclusive language translations, accuse translators of bending to cultural pressures, that this is somehow some sort of politically correct translation. Those who are in favor of inclusive language translations say that it renders the meaning, it doesn't render the word, it renders the meaning of the original text accurately into contemporary English. And the hope would be that a good translator is conveying what the Bible means, particularly if just translating the words might lead to misunderstanding in what the Bible says. So the people in favor of inclusive language translations feel, no, they're accurately representing what the text means and that what God inspired the text to say. And therefore, it's not a politically correct translation advocating some sort of radical feminist agenda, which is, for some reason, what they're normally accused of. They'd say, no, it's actually something that does convey the meaning of the text. So I want you to take some time to think about those issues, what the priority needs to be. Is the priority translating the words, which could lead to misunderstanding, but is faithful to the translation of the words, or translation of the words lead to translate the meaning be something that we need to make a priority?